Hey, hold up there. Before you start commenting on this video some mean and nasty things, the title of this video does say 2 years ago. This is a story that took place back in 2018, and not something that actually recently occurred. If it recently occurred, then my goodness, there would be a lot more chatter about this, but as we noted in the Igor Chinakhov video a few days ago, because the offseason has started entering that dead zone territory where the news has been slowing down and the rumors have slowed down as well, this YouTube channel is going to continue with the videos it's been making over the past few weeks, but we're going to be incorporating a few more experimental topics into the conversation too, and one of these topics is the one we're discussing here in today's video. The idea of an Alex Pietrangelo for William Nylander trade that was actually rejected by the Toronto Maple Leafs in 2018. Now, our source today is the 31 Thoughts Elliotte Friedman article from December 12, 2018. The title goes right here. It says, "Examining why a Nylander-Pietrangelo deal never materialized." And man, this was back when I was in my first year of university. I was only mostly doing Vancouver Canucks related content on the channel, so this kind of thing, even though it's an absolutely ballistic topic, it was not really on my radar, which is why I didn't really talk about it. I was mostly just focused on college because, hey, I was a first-year student back then at the BCIT Radio Arts and Entertainment program, and I was talking about my Canucks on the side. But Nylander for Pietrangelo is an idea that, when you mentioned it 2 years ago, there was a certain idea attached to it. Pietrangelo was seen as this really good number one right-handed defenseman, and Nylander was seen as a problem. Remember, 2018, this is when the Nylander holdout happened, and there wasn't a contract re-signing until, like, the very last second. And this is kind of around the ballpark when this article came out discussing the idea of a Nylander-Pietrangelo trade. Let's scroll down all the way to thought number 3. We'll read this one in full, because it's a 2-year-old article. There certainly isn't that same relevance that it has today, so we're going to read the entire paragraph over here. Nick Kypreos shook the masses last weekend, wondering on headlines if Alex Pietrangelo would be a fit for Toronto. With a few more days to work off it, my guess is this: St. Louis put Pietrangelo in William Nylander trade discussions, but the Leafs decided to keep Nylander. I see 2 reasons. First, Nylander is 6 years younger. Second, they might not be able to fit Pietrangelo's extension. He is eligible for that in July, and they would prefer someone with term in that particular trade. It doesn't mean they can't or won't reconsider him in the future. Now, there's a little bit more to this 31 Thoughts thought, but consider him in the future. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Alex Pietrangelo, 2 years removed after this article was published. Hey, he was a target of the Maple Leafs. Eventually, he went to Vegas. We all know what happened there. But Toronto was very well interested in Pietrangelo that time, too. But let's review the actual economic situation of both of these players at the time. This is in 2018. This was before the 2018-19 season. Alex Pietrangelo was a year removed from starting off his last year on his contract with the Blues. We've noted this as a big deal over the past few weeks, actually, but his $6.5 million AAV contract with St. Louis was expiring at the end of 2019-20. And with one extra year left on that contract, had the Maple Leafs made a trade with Pietrangelo before 2018-19, there certainly would have been a lot of uncertainty going into the long-term future. Now, you could debate whether or not a Nylander contract, because Nylander is making quite a significant amount of money for the Leafs right now, under $7 million. You could debate that if Nylander was not on the Leafs, the Maple Leafs would have been able to re-sign Pietrangelo to an extension, which is not what the St. Louis Blues were able to do, which is why he even went to free agency in the first place. You could totally make that debate. But William Nylander in this spot was the guy whom the Maple Leafs said we wanted to keep. And eventually they did sign him. Obviously, you can see that $10-point-something million cap hit in 2018-19. That's because there was the holdout. That's not really legit in comparison to the entire framework of the contract. The rest of the numbers work themselves out. As we said, just under $7 million going into 2023-2024. Some people would say that's an overpayment, but hey, I think it's pretty good, especially for a guy who definitely does have the potential to contribute upwards of 70 points in a year consistently. But that's just my own personal opinion. Let's continue on with this 31 Thoughts thought. The Leafs are doing their due diligence on defensemen. They're not crazy about term, but they may consider some length if the cap hit is small enough. The D-man has trade protection. But if novice-age teammate John Tavares can handle Toronto, there's no reason Alex Pietrangelo cannot. So that's definitely an argument too, even though Nylander is younger, and the Maple Leafs preferred the younger Nylander to Alex Pietrangelo. Pietrangelo's the same age as John Tavares, so there certainly isn't a reason to label Pietrangelo as some dinosaur. I mean, compared to Nylander, you could say what you want. Next up, though, on the 31 Thoughts thought number 4, it reads this: the biggest takeaway from all this, the fact that Pietrangelo's name even got out there indicates that the Blues are willing to do it. And I guess they were probably willing to entertain some Alex Pietrangelo trade discussions, especially with the idea that he was expiring in a year and they were uncertain as to whether or not they would have been able to keep him. Spoiler alert, they didn't, but you didn't need me to tell you that. So it's kind of funny, isn't it? How back before the Nylander thing was finished, the St. Louis Blues came out here and they were like, hey, you know, we got this guy. His name is Pietrangelo. You guys want to take him. He's a right-handed D. He's very good. He's very strong on the puck. Give us Nylander. Let him sign with us. And the Leafs said no. So now, taking everything into account, I think in hindsight, you could have made that debate on one of them being more valuable than the other. I get that William Nylander is a guy that Toronto fans love to bash on because the $7 million contract certainly isn't cheap, but I'm personally a guy who's a lot more keen on Nylander than a lot of the Nylander haters out there. I do see the value in having a guy who can play make like Nylander can, and sure, having a whole bunch of skilled forwards on your team and being the 4th best one, despite the fact that you're able to put upwards of 70 points in a year, on a good year when you're playing the entire time, mind you, it just kind of is the indicator or a big representation of what exactly the Leafs are as a team. Whether that's more valuable than a right-handed number 1 defenseman in Alex Pietrangelo is up to you. We noted this in a few videos ago, talking about Pietrangelo and the Leafs, but some people were of the belief that if Pietrangelo did indeed come to Toronto, he would have been the best right-handed defenseman the team had ever had. And with a storied franchise of the Toronto Maple Leafs going back hundreds of years, or it's pretty much just only 100 or just underneath that, I forgot the number. That's a big claim. It really is a big claim. But now, that guy was signed onto a contract for $8.8 million a season with the Vegas Golden Knights that'll take him until 2027. If you would have wanted that as a Toronto Maple Leafs fan on your team instead, but with the idea of you sacrificing Nylander to get it, all of a sudden we have a completely different debate here. So, for me personally, I could totally understand why Toronto wanted to keep Nylander instead. The contract works out better for a Leafs team that is struggling with their cap space. Obviously, you could say that Pietrangelo has more value to a team than Nylander would, but with hindsight included, just seeing the entire Pietrangelo story that got developed over the past few weeks over here in 2020, it does give me a little bit of an incentive to believe that Kyle Dubas, in some form or another, just economically speaking, made the right choice. Again, value speaking to the team, we don't know who made the right choice. You could probably say either or, which is what the comment section is here for, because I want you to tell me in the comments, if you were Kyle Dubas, back in 2018, the offseason of 2018, before the Nylander holdout happened, before you re-signed him to that big contract, if the St. Louis Blues hit you up and said, hey, give us Nylander, we'll give you Alex Pietrangelo, fully knowing that in 2 years, after one more season of the contract and another season of playing the final year, that you would have put him in a position where he would have become one of the top free agents, and you might have had to go through that whole fiasco. Again, though, we spoke about at the beginning, if you don't have Nylander and that $7 million, it all of a sudden becomes much easier to re-sign Pietrangelo before he hits free agency, and just keep him around for the next 7 years or so. So would you rather have Pietrangelo or Nylander on your Leafs team today? And that all plays into the idea on whether or not Kyle Dubas made the right choice, keeping Nylander instead of Pietrangelo, and ultimately letting the St. Louis Blues suffer that weird contract fate where they lost out on their captain, pretty much for nothing until they got Torrey Krug in free agency as well. Once Torrey Krug signed, everybody kind of knew, okay, there's no way Pietrangelo is coming back with Krug on the lineup too. So yeah, that wraps up this experimental topic type video, taking a blast to the past and figuring out a cool little story that involves two quite prominent figures in the hockey world today. Talk to me in the comments what you think about this idea. Hope you enjoyed this video. That is Troll99, and bye.